Good morning. Today I want to talk about the astrology of 2025 for America and the world. But first, let me explain that last November, maybe around middle or third week of November, my laptop crashed and died. I think the motherboard has gone to the motherboard afterlife, and I still don't have it repaired yet. So I'm using a borrowed laptop. And I don't have access to all of my wonderful astrological software, so I'm having to use astrological software that I have on my iPhone to create charts and find dates and stuff. So things will look a little different this time around in my slideshow, but let me see if I can share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, I've got to get rid of a few panels here so I can see what I'm doing. And I think we're ready to begin. So this is the astrology of 2025 for America and the world. And we'll begin with the world. Okay. First aspect we'll look at is transiting Pluto opposite transiting Mars. That will be in effect from January 1st through January 5th and April 25th through April 28th. All right. Actually, I don't consider these transits all that serious since they only last a few days. However, during these days, both energy and anger may be elevated. The previous opposition between Mars and Pluto was on the 3rd of November, 2024, right before the presidential election in America. But a difference is that Pluto was in Capricorn back then. With Pluto now in Aquarius, the trend is for power to shift from individuals to the people. And I think we're already seeing this influence in America's Senate, where the Republican senators are not automatically signing off on all of the appointments that President-elect Trump wants to make. Thus, this time around, it is a conflict between energy, action, and anger, Mars, and various groups that hold the keys to power, Pluto. Again, in America, this may manifest as more opposition to actions taken by Trump. All right, this is very important. In the 9-month period from November 24th through July 25th, all of the traditional outer planets, Jupiter through Pluto, will change signs. And I show these sign changes up here. And on the 11th of July 2025, there will be a mini grand trine with Pluto, Moon, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Venus. And Saturn and Neptune will be about as close to a conjunction as they will get in 2025. So we have this mini grand trine involving Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That is going to get stronger throughout the summer, and it will get even stronger the following summer. This is going to be continuing for a while, this Uranus, Neptune, Pluto mini grand trine that will bring in new perspectives, higher vibrations, if you will, higher energies into the planet, opening people up to larger realities. And on July 11th, Venus, Saturn, and Moon will be joining in as part of that mini grand trine. All right, from January 11th through February 8th, we have transiting Saturn, semi-square transiting Pluto with 1-degree orb. And there will be some irritation and tension during this period between those who want power and those who want to control and regulate power. There may also be some destruction of infrastructure or regulations and control mechanisms. For example, we may see in this period battles between the efforts of Elon Musk to drastically reduce federal spending and legislators who have other priorities. And now this will be pretty big. Transiting Neptune conjunct transiting Saturn in Aries, June 9th through August 23rd. It won't become exact this year, but it will be very close to exact for an extended period of time. All right, Saturn represents structure while Neptune dissolves structures. When they come into conjunction, we usually see new ideologies emerge, and sometimes this plays out literally, such as when we saw the structure of the Berlin Wall literally dissolve before our eyes. The next conjunction of Saturn and Neptune is on 20th of February, 2026, and the two planets will be within 1 degree of conjunction from the 8th of February, 2026 to the 4th of March, 2026. In the summer of 2025, we won't have an exact conjunction between these two planets, but they will be within 1 degree of exact for a longer period of time from the 9th of June, 2025 to the 23rd of August, 2025. Thus, the period this summer may be more important than the exact conjunction in 2026, and at least it should foreshadow what will be coming on the 20th of February, 2026. And now we have some good aspects going on. And the Uranus-Neptune-Pluto mini-grand trine will be strong from August 12th to October 6th. And Saturn will be part of this configuration on August 12th. This configuration in fire and air signs will usher in a higher vibration and new perspectives for the planet. Technology, clever thinking, and independence will be emphasized. I don't know exactly how the world will change or if change will happen gradually or suddenly, but we are turning a huge page. There will be an extended period from July 11th through December 17th, during which people will be opening up to new perspectives. All right, here is the chart on July 11th, 2025. That's when Saturn and Neptune are about as close to one another as they'll get. And we see that mini grand trine. We saw this on the previous slide. And we have Venus, Saturn, and Moon involved, as well as Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Here is how things look on August 12th of 2025, where again we have this mini grand trine and Saturn, Neptune, and the Moon are all pretty tightly conjunct at the start of Aries. Now let's look at this next chart. This is on February 19th, 2026, just one day before the Saturn-Neptune conjunction becomes exact. We still have at least, if you use the right orb, a wide grand trine, a wide trine between Uranus and Pluto. I think they're pulled into that configuration by Neptune too. But notice how similar this looks to the previous slide. We had Saturn, Moon, and Neptune conjunct on August 12th. We have Saturn, Moon, and Neptune conjunct on February 19th, 2026, and basically the same mini grand trine. So, at the very least, what happens on August 12th, 2025, it should at the very least foreshadow what we might expect on February 19th of 2026. Now, speaking of 2026, the most beneficial day of the century might occur in July of 2026, on July 21st to be exact, when most of the outer planets find extraordinary harmony with one another at 4 degrees of positive signs. We got 4 degrees, 4 degrees, 4 degrees, 4 degrees. And then we also have this other mystic rectangle here with everything at 0 degrees. This configuration is reminiscent of the conjunctions of Neptune and Uranus and Pluto that ushered in major world religions and philosophies around 576 BCE. So if we think of the years 2020 through 2024 as the start of very difficult labor pains, in 2025, 2026, we're going through the birth pains. And these years we're in this incredible moment of flux and change and transition. We have all the outer planets, the traditional outer planets changing signs, and we have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto spending quite a lengthy period of time in this very beneficial relationship with one another. And at times, other planets join in on that. Now let's take a look at America. And first chart I have here, well, I should explain that for America, I usually use a July 2nd, 1776 chart because that is the day on which the Declaration for Independence was passed by the Continental Congress. However, everything I talk about here will also apply to the various July 4th, 1776 charts, unless I'm talking about the moon, because the moon can move quite a bit in a couple of days. But everything else will be the same for all the July 1776 charts. So here's something going on. Progressed Jupiter square natal Saturn, that's going to last all year round. Now, progressed Jupiter first formed a square to natal Saturn in 2009 as Obama became president. We often see this aspect as representing a tension between growth and regulation, but it can also be seen as a political tension between progressives and conservatives. Jupiter's more progressive, Saturn's more conservative. And this aspect will be strongest for the next 3 years, 2025, 2026, 2027. So it might continue to be a bumpy ride for America in the immediate future. So a lot of this tense political divide began when Obama became president. It has grown, and I think the next 3 years will be the most intense ones for this unfortunate political divide in America. Okay, in the solar arc chart, we'll have solar arc Saturn square natal Neptune and solar arc Neptune sesquiquadrate natal Saturn. Now, the last time Neptune entered Aries, the American Civil War had just begun, and both astrologers and historians have noted that we're repeating conditions that preceded that conflict, both astrological and historically. However, in the summer of 2025, Neptune and Saturn will be in Aries together all summer long. And these conjunctions have a long history of signaling upheavals and changes of direction in Russia. For instance, we had the assassination of Tsar Alexander II in proximity to a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, the Bolshevik Revolution, the death of Stalin, the fall of the Berlin Wall coincided with a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Saturn represents structure, Neptune dissolves structures, and we literally saw that wall dissolve before our eyes. And then that was followed by the breakup of the Soviet Union. So a lot of astrologers think that Putin's time and power may be very limited because we have a near conjunction, these two planets this summer, an exact conjunction in February of 2026. And so it's very questionable whether Putin will survive whatever transition occurs. Okay, getting back to our text. But because of the solar arc aspects listed above, and with Saturn and Neptune conjoined this summer from June through August, this year could be exceptionally difficult for America too. These conjunctions signify a breakdown of structures and often the rise of new ideologies. And that is exactly what Trump has indicated that he wants to do. He wants to radically transform the structure of America and its government even more than he already has. So, not only will Neptune be where it was at the beginning of the American Civil War, but the conjunction with Saturn is going to uh, also probably have a very impact on the structure of things in America and the ideology it will pursue going forward. Okay, here's my July 2nd, 1776 chart for America. And this summer, or this year, we're going to have transiting Saturn square natal Mars, transiting Saturn opposite natal Neptune, and transiting lunar nodes square natal Mars. And in all July 1776 charts for America, there is a square between Neptune and Mars, which represents how illusion, disinformation, and misinformation can affect our march to action, inflame passions, and possible violence. This natal square will be repeatedly stimulated in 2025 from February to August, and that could make the year quite contentious or even violent for Americans. There's also a heightened risk for accidents and false information of all sorts. So whenever this square gets stimulated, we usually see a little bit more violence in America, school shootings, and other things of that sort. Now, here are some aspects to Venus that will occur by transit. Transiting lunar nodes square natal Venus, transiting Neptune square natal Venus, transiting Saturn square natal Venus. And Neptune was squaring Venus at the start of the American Civil War. Hence, all of these squares from Venus to Venus from January 1st through September 21st could stir up discontent due to competing systems of values in America. And now we're going to look at some aspects involving Chiron and also Saturn. And we look at both because America has a Saturn-Chiron opposition in its chart, with Saturn in Libra and Chiron in Aries. At its best, America incorporates the spiritual worth and dignity of each individual, Chiron in Aries, into the structure of its relationships with others, Saturn in Libra. But at its worst, America seeks to control others both within and without, and often winds up wounding other countries and people. Unfortunately, that Saturn-Chiron opposition will be stimulated almost constantly throughout the year, and while spiritual transcendence is possible, it may be experienced by a few. For the masses, a less positive outcome is more likely. Thus, I'm expecting political and economic wounding at the very least. The last time America experienced transits like these was in the mid-70s, right after Nixon resigned. That period was marked by 2 assassination attempts on President Gerald Ford and extremely high inflation. By the end of the year, we may be asking ourselves if we are better off now than we were just a year ago under a Democratic president. Okay, there are also going to be some good aspects by transit for America this year. And here we have some involving Uranus and Neptune and Pluto and also Chiron. And these aspects will help bring in new and more transcendent perspectives for Americans, as well as some healing for past wounds. People in America will grow and evolve this year, some of us at least. And let's see, now I'm looking at some transits to Moon and Mercury. In the July 2nd, 1776 chart for America, Mercury and Moon are in a strong opposition. So these beneficial aspects to natal Moon and Mercury will probably both stimulate and stabilize innovation in the economy. And Pluto, people will likely experience some satisfaction during these periods. The aspects are coming from transiting Saturn and transiting Uranus, and these 2 planets are going to be making us something of a sextile in the sky, so that when Saturn is sextile the moon, Uranus is going to be trine the moon. And when Saturn is trine Mercury, Uranus will be sextile Mercury. And now we have a couple of aspects involving Pluto. This one, Uranus trine Pluto, we saw already, but I'm repeating it here. And these beneficial aspects to Pluto will likely enhance America's power during the periods indicated, or it could be just the power of the commander-in-chief, if not all of America's power. and it could be another period of both innovation and stability for America. I have some eclipses to look at here. The July 2nd, 1776 chart for America and the March 14th, 2025 lunar eclipse. And notice here that Sun and Saturn are strongly conjunct in this eclipse. That's going to affect not just America, but everyone. Thus, this may be a year of restriction and shortages for the world, just as the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse with exact conjunction, exact to the minute of Sun, Moon, and Chiron, brought a year of wounding to the world. But America will be particularly affected because of the strong opposition of Saturn to America's Neptune. This could result in disinformation, a crackdown on forms of expression deemed too unusual or too liberal, or even violence as America's Neptune-Mars square will be stimulated. Okay, next we have a March 29th solar eclipse. And in this eclipse chart, transiting Neptune is square America's natal Venus. This could be ominous because Neptune is almost exactly where it was at the start of the American Civil War. I think it's within about 1 minute of where it was. And the impact of this square will be intensified by the eclipse. America is already divided politically, and this eclipse could be a tipping point of sorts. Then we have another lunar eclipse on September 7th. We compare that to our July 2nd, 1776 chart for America. And in this eclipse chart, both transiting Neptune and Saturn are square America's natal Venus. And this reiterates the ominous echoes of the American Civil War that were seen in the previous eclipse chart. Moreover, transiting Mars is opposite America's Chiron, and this could trigger wounding through violence in America, or other Martian things, such as accidents or fires, could occur. And last, we have the September 21st solar eclipse. And in this eclipse chart, transiting Neptune is still square America's natal Venus, and transiting Chiron is square America's natal Mercury and Moon right here. Again, there may be wounding and even violence as a result of the divide in the way progressive and conservative Americans view the world. Furthermore, transiting Saturn is strongly opposed the transiting Sun and Moon, and this echoes the impact of transiting Saturn conjunct the transiting Sun and opposite the Moon at this year's first eclipse. So this aspect, Saturn opposite Sun and Moon over here, this is affecting not just America, but the entire world. Is very similar to the conjunction we had with Saturn and Sun opposite Moon at the very first eclipse. So this is reiterating that this may indeed be a year of frustration, oppression, and shortages for the world and America. Now let's look at Trump. First, looking at his progress chart, he's got progress Venus square Saturn and natal Venus, progress Mars conjunct natal Chiron. Okay, Trump has Saturn conjunct Venus in his 11th house, and Venus is the ruler of his 10th house. Thus, the one area where Trump has shown discipline has been in his efforts to either collaborate or control others in the pursuit of his own success. However, with progressed Venus square his natal Saturn, his beliefs and values are now at odds with whatever inner discipline he has. A negative scenario would be a president who appears out of control as he pursues a vindictive agenda. Now, Trump will not only have progressed Mars conjunct Chiron this year, which could result in physical wounding, accidents, and anger, but his natal Chiron is also conjunct Saturn to the degree in all of the July 1776 charts. Thus, just as he did in his first presidency, Trump may continue to wound the structure of American democracy and relationships with allies, Saturn and Libra. However, due to the conjunction with progressed Mars, his efforts this time around may contain more anger and aggression. Also, while many will see Trump's actions as destroying the structure of our country, his supporters will likely see this as draining the swamp. Either way, this will be a year. I think that this year will see a lot of structural change for America as a result of Trump's actions. So, whatever tendency Trump has to either wound America or drain the swamp, wound the structure, change the structure of America, his progressed Mars is going to be energizing those efforts so much more. Okay, in a solar arc chart, he has solar arc Neptune conjunct the natal south node and natal moon, solar arc Pluto, square natal Venus, solar arc midheaven conjunct natal Pluto. So as a result of the conjunction between solar arc Neptune and the natal south node and moon, we will probably see Trump often acting from a place of delusion and misinformation and doing the same things he's done in the past. Also, since Venus rules his 10th house, solar arc Pluto square his natal Venus and solar arc midheaven conjunct his natal Pluto suggests some sort of radical transformation in his status. These changes could range from assassination to having a stroke to going to jail or even to declaring himself a dictator for life, among other possibilities. In other words, I don't know exactly how this will play out, but I am expecting some sort of transformation of status, and one possible outcome that would be less severe would be maneuvering by Trump to increase and consolidate the power of his presidency. Now let's look at the transits. We'll begin with the hard transits, transing Uranus conjunct his natal midheaven. Now, the midheaven and 10th house always have to do with a person's status in society, and Uranus always breaks up the existing pattern. Trump may be an erratic leader during this period. This aspect will play into the indications of changes to his status as shown by the solar arc progressions. There will be changes, but the question is, will those changes be good or bad? Trump himself has indicated that he likely wants to greatly expand the power of the president to make decisions unilaterally. Now we get to transing Saturn square natal Uranus and transing Pluto sesquiquadrate natal Uranus. And since Uranus is in Trump's 10th house of status, these aspects will likely cause difficulties and impose restrictions upon what Trump can do. And now we have some transits by Saturn to the moon, the sun, and Pluto. And Trump will likely feel personal restrictions this year, and there may be even more revelations about the hidden workings of his real estate empire. I believe Pluto rules his 4th house. And let's see, these aspects involving Chiron could definitely wound Trump in his status or reputation. Chiron's wounding, Saturn and Venus, and Uranus are all connected with this 10th house of status. And then we have some hard aspects from Uranus and to Mars as ascendant. These squares from Uranus could make Trump even more angry and defiant, and there could even be another assassination attempt, such as happened during the last square from transing Uranus to his natal Mars. Okay, I'm just going to pause to take a sip of water here. Now we'll look at the good transits for Trump this year, and he has a lot of them. Over here on the right-hand side, you see nothing but beneficial transits from Jupiter. So Trump will experience several favorable aspects from March through May, and September through December to his midheaven, his 10th house sun, and Uranus, and the ruler of his 10th house, Venus and Saturn, which is in conjunction with his Venus. Despite some aspects, some difficult transits this year, he will receive several beneficial lifelines, which may allow him to emerge unscathed, as was the case in 2024. In 2024, Trump had a lot of some difficult transits, but he also had some beneficial transits. And every time there's a difficult transit, a beneficial transit came along, threw him a lifeline, and he came out unscathed. I think the same thing's going to happen in 2025, but both the difficulties and the beneficial aspects are greater in number. And Trump will also have several favorable aspects from transiting Jupiter and Chiron that will help him throughout the year and the summer months too. So here we see some additional favorable aspects from Jupiter and favorable aspects too from Chiron. Now let's look at how the eclipses will probably affect Donald Trump. At the time of the March 14th lunar eclipse, the square from transiting Sun, Saturn, Moon to his natal Sun can bring frustrations to Trump. However, the trine sextile from the same to his natal Saturn provides some relief. Also, the conjunction of transiting Uranus with his midheaven will shake up his status in some way, but the trine sextile from transiting Chiron to his moon, let's see, where was I here? The trine sextile from transiting Chiron to his moon sun will provide much desired healing. So he has, here's his transiting Chiron. It's going to be making a sextile to his sun, a trine to his natal moon. That is going to help a lot. All right, the second eclipse at the time of the March 29th solar eclipse, the square from transiting Sun Moon to his natal Mercury can cause some difficulties with either rational thought or communication. Also, transiting Uranus is still conjunct his midheaven. However, transiting Jupiter trine natal Chiron and transiting Chiron trine sextile natal moon and sun, and transiting Saturn over here, trine natal Saturn, will help to bring Trump luck, healing, and stability in the months following this eclipse. So he's got a lot of the good and the bad all together. Now, at the time of the September 7th lunar eclipse, the square from transiting Chiron to his natal Venus will likely wound his reputation in some way. However, the trine from transiting Chiron to his natal Mars as close to his ascendant will help to heal all wounds. And then at the time of the September 21st solar eclipse, there will still be a square from transiting Chiron to his natal Venus and a trine from transiting Chiron to natal Mars, close to his ascendant. Hence, he will again experience some wounding to his reputation along with personal healing. So let's draw some conclusions. For the world, 2025 is going to be a year of extraordinary change. All of the traditional outer planets have recently changed or will change signs, and the Uranus-Neptune-Pluto mini-grand trine will gain strength in July and August. We are also seeing ongoing shifts of power from individuals to the people as a result of Pluto now being firmly in Aquarius for the next 20 years. The most recent example as I write this is the collapse today of the dictatorial government in Syria. Around the globe, people will be experiencing changes in perspective and a yearning for freedom. However, Pluto in Aquarius has also begun to show its dark side through concerns about how artificial intelligence may be misused and with the rise of deep fakes. Nonetheless, we're likely at the start of major advancements in energy technology, biotechnology, and information technology. Also, while for many people 2025 will be the beginning of the birth of a new world, Russia and America will probably face their own challenges due to the near conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at the beginning of Aries. This conjunction will be exact at the beginning of Aries on 20th of February 2026, and since this occurs at the very beginning of the zodiac, it represents the start of a major change in philosophies and structures that will last for a very long time to come. Okay, I'll get another quick sip of water here. For America, 2025 will be a challenging year. Divisions between progressives and conservatives may peak over the next 3 years due to the strength of progressed Jupiter square natal Saturn. And the Saturn-Neptune near conjunction will likely affect America more than usual given the tense solar aspects involving Saturn and Neptune. That's a square and a sesquiquadrate. Furthermore, given Trump's stated plans, it seems likely that America will see major changes in its structure and philosophy. Could be Project 2025 to some degree. Civil conflict and wounding in some form are very likely for America this year, and there's always a chance that we'll see an escalation in violence. A chance, but not a certainty. Plus, the year's eclipses promise a year of some frustration, overregulation, or oppression. Probably oppression is the appropriate word when Trump is in control. It probably won't be overregulation of business, in other words, but oppression of various segments of our population, and or scarcity, not only for America, but for the whole world. However, a series of beneficial aspects for America will ameliorate some of the worst aspects, as many Americans will adopt newer and more transcendent perspectives, and the economy could innovate and stabilize. America may see its power in the world enhance in 2025. That's the result of beneficial aspects to Pluto, but that could work out as an enhancement of the power of the commander-in-chief rather than all of America. But remember that power can be used for evil as well as for good. What choices America makes remains to be seen. And for Trump, 2025 will bring him not only several bad aspects that result in wounding and frustration, but even more good aspects at the same time. He will likely experience some pushback to his more radical agendas, but several beneficial aspects from Jupiter and Chiron to his 10th house and related planets will probably result in him winning several of these confrontations. Thus, I estimate that perhaps 75% of his agenda will be implemented. It could be closer to 50%. I'm thinking his good aspects will prevail and that he'll get at least half or more than half of his agenda put into place. But I could be wrong about that. It could turn out that the negative aspects prevail. If so, that would be probably because of the negative aspects in his progress chart and solar arc chart overriding the good aspects in his transiting chart. Okay. Plus, with his progress Mars conjunct his natal Chiron, which is conjunct natal Saturn in the July 1776 charts for America, the one thing that seems for certain is that Trump will actively change the structure of American government and society. I am anticipating a tremendous amount of wounding to America and its democracy, but in the eyes of his followers, it will only be draining the swamp and getting rid of the so-called deep state. Overall, there are some individuals and industries that will thrive over the next 4 years. But if Trump gets his way with what he promised during his campaign, then several other segments of American society will probably suffer terribly. It's always possible, though, that Trump too may evolve and only implement positive changes. But while I hope for that, I won't hold my breath. Okay, that is the end of this slideshow. So let me stop sharing. All right, and I'm back. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it informative. Uh, I won't be making quite so many videos for a while until I get my laptop back from the repair services and, if necessary, get my astrological software reinstalled on it. But from time to time, for some really important things, I'll use software on my phone and make some videos, and we can go from there. So I hope you found this informative. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again in the future. But for now, I'll just say so long and be well.